Hey everybody, Kevin Mink, Urban Soil Health Specialist with the Oklahoma County Conservation District. Today we're back at the Oklahoma City Zoo checking in on our pollinator plots. If you remember from previous videos, we've been out here testing a couple land management techniques to see what is the best way to kind of prepare a lawn setting for a pollinator garden that we're gonna grow from seed. So this is kind of like the simplest technique to move some lawn space to a pollinator garden. So this is kind of our first year growth. If you'll remember, we treated each plot with a specific technique, and then we did a quick pass with the rototiller after we added our seed to make sure we got good seed to soil contact. So today we're gonna talk about what we're seeing. So taking a look at our first plot here, this is the one that we treated with a glyphosate solution. This is basically Roundup, which you can buy at Lowe's or Home Depot, and then rototilled and seeded. Honestly, not a lot of action. We don't really see any new seeds germinating in this plot, looking at it today. There is geranium, which is something that comes up pretty commonly in your lawn if you're not treating it with a pre-emergent mixture. But we'll keep observing this and maybe we'll see some action later in the summer. This next plot is just the purely tilled plot. So we tilled it a couple times over the season before we seeded and tilled it along with the rest of the plots. Again, not a ton of action. As I'm looking down here, I see a couple Rudbeckias, that's your black-eyed Susan, and a little bit of Coreopsis trying to push its way up here, but not very widespread germination here. Moving to our next plot, this is a plot that we treated with cardboard. So if you remember, we had this completely smothered with cardboard over the summer just to try and suppress what was ever in the ground layer. Then in the fall, we came in and we pulled it up, tilled it and seeded it. And this one is actually doing the best. I'm seeing the most flowers. You can actually see a patch of pink ladies. That's a showy primrose that was in our seed mix, and a couple other good things that we'll revisit a little later. We'll talk about some of the things that we're seeing popping up here. And then our last plot, which we solarized and then seeded and tilled, is doing okay. Couple things germinating. You can see we obviously got a very good kill on the existing vegetation here. So this may be something that we need to reseed and continue to observe, as we'll do with these other plots throughout the summer. So that's kind of big picture what's going on here. We're gonna check in on some of the plants so that you can learn to recognize what is coming up from seed in the first year.
We're taking a look here at bee balm, which is something you may see appear in its first year if you're using our yard by yard seed mix. Easy to pick out. It has a square stem, which is something you can easily feel with your fingers. That's very pronounced. And then you'll also notice that the leaves are oppositely oriented on the stem. That's something to note as well. This triangular leaf with a toothed margin, very characteristic of bee balm, and then a little bit of a rough leaf. So something that will help you pick it out. Here's a couple of them just to see what that looks like coming up in its first year. Here's another plant that we may see coming up in our first year using a seed mix. This is a black-eyed Susan. Really obvious plant. I mean, this hairy leaf is a really characteristic way to pick it out. It's nice and fuzzy, and you can see those little teeth on the margin of the leaf, and the way it comes up is very classic too. That little bundle right there, and you'll see I made a little space around this guy because I really want him to get established. So, you know, when you find these kinds of things, you don't have to work super hard, but, you know, give it a little breathing room from some of the other plants that may be coming up to give that guy a better chance of getting established in this new setting. Here's another plant that's coming up. This one is actually in our solarized plot. You can kind of see the brown grass around it. This is a Coreopsis, which usually you can pick out because of its variable leaf forms. I mean, here is one leaf that has lobes on it. Here is one that is just a singular leaf without any lobes. Here's one with a, you know, much bigger lobing pattern. This guy's got 5 lobes versus these 3. And then even this one over here just has 2 lobes like a mitten. So that's pretty characteristic of this type of Coreopsis. Easy way to pick it out in your seed mix. Here we're taking a look at the pink lady or the showy primrose. There's a couple common names for this guy. And a couple people call this a weed because they see it growing along roadsides, but it's really actually a great pollinator plant and looks really cool because it kind of comes up in these beautiful little clumps here. Taking a closer look at a non-flowering plant, we can see this alternating leaf pattern up the stem, as well as these narrow, kind of wavy leaf margins. You know, it has teeth on it, but also we can see that the margins of the leaf are kind of wavy. And then here's a look at a flower, you know, prior to its opening. Fairly upright as an individual plant, but then you will also see that it tends to clump together. So easy way to pick that out in a crowd. Here we're looking at a clasping coneflower that's trying to make its start. And I mean, this guy is self-explanatory. You can see right in there how the base of the leaf clasps around the stem, alternates its way up the stem, clasping coneflower. This guy should be pretty here, hopefully later in the season. But keep in mind, some of these plants may not flower in their first season. They're perennials and they're just trying to get their roots established so that they can be strong and flower in following years. One more plant for you here. This is a partridge pea trying to get established. Really pronounced bipinnately compound leaf there. You can see all of those tiny little leaflets. You know, this can also be confused with Illinois bundleflower, which I'd show you a side-by-side comparison if I could. But both are great to have in your seed mix. They're nitrogen fixers. These are legumes, so really important to have some leguminous plant included in your seed mix.
So there you go, everybody. Just a little check-in for you here at the end of May at our plots here at the OKC Zoo. We've learned a little bit about what's germinating here, seen a couple of things flowering. We'll of course continue to check on this throughout the summer and give you updates. Just a couple of notes on what we've done out here is, as we found some of these plants, we do a little bit of maintenance, you know, and pull some of the weeds away, create some space for those plants that we want to see in here, just so they get better established and we remove some of the things that may cause a nuisance to them getting established. Second note is, in doing that, we pull up plants and we disturb a little bit of the soil. So I always keep a little bit of wildflower seed on hand just to enhance the seed bank in what was a turf grass setting. Sometimes we'll see different things germinate at different times of year. So that's just something that I like to do. Not everybody has seed on hand, so we're fortunate to do that. So thank you, everybody. Big thank you again to Rebecca Snyder at the OKC Zoo for letting us use some of the land here and for helping me out anytime we do one of these projects. And we'll keep you posted. We'll see you back here next time.